Hey everybody. Okay, so this video is on getting started with InDesign. And for this first project, we are going to design a cover to a magazine and then follow that up with a second project of doing a two-page layout including text and images and headlines. So to get started, my main suggestion is to copy a magazine, but to change the cover photo. And it involves first finding the magazine, opening Photoshop, and then finally putting it all together in InDesign. So let's go search for a magazine. So I've got Chrome opened here. Hit search and images and time. I'm going to do, it's fairly straightforward and easy enough. Time magazine. Okay, and here we have classic Time magazine featuring Steve Jobs when the iPad. So I'm going to click View Original Image and then right-click on this Copy Image and then minimize the browser, and now we have Photoshop. This is always our first stop. Remember, with InDesign, it's a placeholder program for the content images that we create in Photoshop, and then in InDesign we go ahead and lay it out with type and text boxes, etc. So we'll say File, New, OK, edit, paste, and here we have the magazine. Now, very important first step is we copied the entire magazine, and the first step is to get the correct size. And I went just downstairs and measured one of my times, and it's 10.5 inches tall. So let's go into Image, Image Size, and we want to change all these numbers. Make sure Constrain Proportions is on, and Resample Image is on. Resolution, we're going to go to 240. It's a nice compromise between good sharp prints and smaller file size. It's unnecessary to go to 300 dots per inch. And the height is 10.5 inches. And the width is just right. It's a 7 and 7/8. Excuse me. So here we go, and then Control 0. And you can work out some of the details about what fonts and what pictures and whatnot here. But I used the actual time to get the correct sizing. Again, image size 7.88 by 10.5 at 240. So next phase is to go to back to Google and grab a picture of Steve Jobs, another one. So instead of doing a search for time, put in Steve. Do a search, and we want a large one, so I'm going to click Search Tools and Size and Large. And we'll grab an image that may look appropriate for the cover. If we want to copy this cover, we may want to use a black background, but it's not necessary. So I won't take too long to look here. Looking for a straight-on image too. This one looks messed up. You never know what people have done here with the reposting images and messing with it. Oh, here we go. I'm going to use this black and white one, and it's 5,000 pixels by 7,000 pixels, so it's huge. Click on it, View Original Image. So it's important not to, and here it is. I've got fast internet connection. So again, right-click, Copy Image, and get rid of the Chrome browser and File New back in Photoshop. You see it's 4,961 by 7441, and that's 105 megabytes. It's much bigger than we need. And paste it in. And next what I want to do is set up my crop tool to crop a picture to fit the space exactly. So crop tool, and I'm going to click this button up here in the options bar for the crop tool, front image, and that sets up the resolution and the height and the width perfectly. So when I go over to this image, it'll reduce the size and crop it exactly to where I want it to be. And I'm trying to decide, let's take a look at this one. Okay, so his head comes up right there. Okay. Let's figure on that, say. Okay, hit enter, and it's resizing it down to 13 megabytes. And I'm going to zoom in for you here. So very important. So what do we just do? Image size here. We set up an InDesign. We haven't set up InDesign yet, but we set up for an InDesign document that will be 7.88 inches, 10.5 height, 240 dpi, and I did that by finding an original time cover and resizing it up to the resolution I wanted and the height that I measured, and let the width float where it wanted to. So okay to that. As long as I'm at it here, why don't we put the red border and stroke a white line here, and then we'll take that image into InDesign and then add the rest of the elements. So here we go. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Nope, I'm working on a small screen here, so bear with me. What I'm going to do is use the square marquee tool and click and drag around the image. Good. And what I'm interested in is filling this space outside of the selection. So if we invert the selection, select inverse, then we have the ability to fill it with red. Click on the foreground color, grab red, and then go edit, fill with foreground color. Good. Now once more I'm going to inverse the selection. Select inverse, and then use this selection to stroke a white line. So I'm going to put white in the foreground color and choose edit, stroke, and instead of centered, I'm going to put it on the inside and make it about 9 pixels in the case of this one here, and then deselect. Good. So you can see we've got everything started here, white line, red border, the image, and everything is great. In terms of layers, we've just got it on one layer. It's layer 1 because I pasted it. So we're just going to save it and flatten it first. Image, flatten image, and file, save as, and jobs cover, and put it on the desktop. Save at 12 on it as a JPEG. Good. So that's the necessary prep. If you were doing a magazine with an unusual logo and it was very difficult to find the right font, you could find a high-res version of that magazine's logo, like on a gaming magazine or skateboard magazine or something like that, and then we could make sure we clean it up and size it in Photoshop, get the colors we want, and then place it into InDesign. Great. So let's take a look at InDesign. We don't need Photoshop at this point. Okay. So when you first open InDesign, you'll see a page like this, and we're going to create a new document. I don't need to use this little dialog box here. We'll just go straight to it. The first thing you have to do, though, is to set up the document to be in the same measuring as the cover that we just did. I'm sorry. In Photoshop we used inches, so we need to make sure we're in inches here. And by default, when you open InDesign, it's going to be in picas. So first thing is to edit, preferences, general, and units and increments, and change picas to inches. Okay, and you can leave everything else the same. I'll just say OK to that. And now we're going to say File, New Document. And what size is it? The height is going to be 10.5, and the width was 7.88. And we just need one page, although we're going to do a two-page spread, so you might as well do that now, so we could put in 3 pages altogether. And we'll say OK to that. And great, so here's our blank InDesign workspace, and you'll notice that the tools on the left side look a lot like Illustrator, and InDesign is very rich with vector tools, and we place objects with these rectangles here. This rectangle with a cross through it is to place a photograph, and this rectangle I use to place text. So the type tool is here, the pen tool, the selection tool, and the direct selection tool are right here. Eyedropper for sampling colors. You can do gradients. We can stroke and fill here. This is showing no fill right now when I draw a box, which is what I want. So we're going to place our image from Photoshop right here. Grab this text box tool, rectangle object, and it draws this X here, and Control D is the shortcut for placing files, but we'll say File, Place. You can see Control D, and then we browse to desktop, and I'm looking for jobs, cover, and open, and bingo, it goes right in. The resolution appears like it's a little low resolution after we started with such a high resolution picture, and the reason is that this is actually a proxy for the original picture. It's not the actual picture itself, and that's an important concept. It's a placeholder for the picture. When you send your InDesign file out to the publisher, you also have to send all the original high-res pictures that you're including, and the program creates comps essentially, or placeholder low-res images that's just useful for previewing and reviewing your layout. But in fact, the high-res picture files are super important to use. Okay, we're at 13 minutes on this video, so I'm going to pause it here, and then we'll do part 2 to go over how to lay out the text. See you in the next video.